Can I leave now?
No feedback. Feedback, please. Yeah, if I was 6'8", it'd be great. It's my floor.
Yeah, that's too.
You want it down?
Why don't you just lay it out on the thing? I mean,
No, it's good. That's
all right.
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate everyone coming out. Dominic, I appreciate you being here. Leaf, I think everyone understands that, pursuant to Section 603 of the Charter, I return Ordinance 101-10 as amended with my veto of Amendments D and G. Now, those are two of the amendments that I decided to veto. My objections regarding these amendments are as follows. The 2011 budget I presented to the Council was an extremely difficult one. It was given the fact that we had a $23 million deficit. My overriding concerns, as I stated in my budget message, were to not overly burden the taxpayers and to minimize cuts to existing personnel. The budget I presented and the Council fundamentally adopted achieved these goals, but with some significant use of non-recurring revenues. So we have challenges in the future, and I'm looking forward to open discussion on how we address those. This pool, the South End pool, is clearly underutilized. An average of fewer than 19 people per day use this facility, and it is in need of extensive capital improvements that are just not cost effective in this economic climate. While some have argued that this closure raises issues about social justice, I believe this argument is disingenuous given the fact that nearly half of those using the facility on a daily basis do not reside in the neighborhood, and many are not even city residents. Furthermore, the city operates a pool at the Arborville Community Center that is newer and which residents may continue to utilize. And we will be running a bus shuttle for people to go and see the Arborville pool and take a look at it and see what they think and if they'd like to participate. And we'll be announcing other possibilities, working with the school district for having pools that will be open for people that live here in the city. Accordingly, I believe it's my responsibility, based on all of that, to reject the Council's amendment to continue to fund the operation of the city's public bath. As such, I'm compelled to exercise my first veto ever and reject the Council's Amendment D to the 2011 budget with regard to funding, operating, and capital improvements for the public bath. That's my first veto. Regarding Amendment G, while I appreciate the Council's attempt to further reduce overtime, I'm concerned that since this budget already incorporates cuts to personnel, a 10% reduction to overtime could impact waste collection, recycling, snow removal, services, etc., to a very, very hard-working group of individuals at Department of General Services and Parks and Recreation. And that would definitely have a negative impact on the quality of life here in the city. Some of the overtime is attributable to high turnover, as well as employees being out on work-related injury due to the physical demands of some of the departmental functions. Accordingly, I am also exercising my veto power to Amendment G. While I remain concerned about the city's future structural deficit, I understand and support the Council's decision to restore $65,000 in arts funding, and accordingly will not veto Amendment B. I understand that we were talking about some of the smaller arts groups. I've been meeting with all of the arts groups, larger as well as smaller, to see how do we put together a real strategy to make sure they all survive. Not just the Palace, Cap Rep, and other places, but everyone. And that's something that we will be continuing to work on. So with that being said, I guess I'm 1 for 17, okay? 17 years as the mayor. This is my first veto. I don't want to take it personally. It's something I made. It was a business decision. It was after a lot of research and input. It wasn't the easiest decision to make. But we will maintain that building, and if anyone is interested in looking at that building or changing it for a future use, we're very willing to talk to them. So if anyone has any recommendations, get them to me.
Do you know what the full cost of rehabbing the building would have been? Commissioner Antonio said $90,000 was just
to stabilize it.
But it was going to be an engineering study to look at what do we need long term. Do you know, have you seen that? Is it included?
No, we haven't done a full evaluation yet, George, but what I did, in that budget of $250,000, it doesn't include water costs because it's a city building. We haven't even monitored that. And there's a lot of leakage, a lot of... I'm not going back in the office. No, and basically there are other costs attributable to that we haven't
continue to maintain the building, how much is that going to cost?
Well, we're going to, just to stabilize it so that we don't lose, we don't have pipes freeze, we don't have all the other, any further debilitation of the building, basically, or deterioration of the building.
And if you know how much that will cost?
No, but I don't think it's going to be, it won't be anywhere near $250,000.
One of the concerns is that once you drain the pool, it starts to deteriorate just because the vents are full of water. Is there a way to actually keep the pool itself from deteriorating?
Well, I'm not an engineer, but I'm not sure, you know, it might be you leave it partially full. I'm not sure. They're looking at all those options. I told them to find the most palatable, the most inexpensive options to keep that building stable anyway.
So, this is the first time you vetoed in the 17 years you said.
My other 16 budgets were so good, Sabrina, you know, and no one wanted to.
I mean, obviously we know that these are tough times, but is there one thing in particular this year that, was it just the bathhouse this year that really caught your eye? I mean, why this year?
No, I asked my department to review each and every facet of their operation. They came back with recommendations, and I adopted most of them in order to really deal with the deficit we have. And, you know, we're going to be challenged next year, and hopefully we will get our recognition from the state, even though they're in very difficult financial times, to recognize you know, how we really have been penalized over the years for being the state capital, having such a large percentage of taxes and property. We wanted an equitable treatment, you know, for us as well as any other cities in the state, and that's a message we have to consistently deliver. Myself, my council, and anyone else that works in the city.
Will the city be able to expand the hours of Arbor Hill?
We're looking at that. You know, it's going to be demand, Jordan. You know, it's going to be okay. In the summer months, a lot of people go to the outdoor pools. They go to Lincoln Park. There's thousands of people. There's minimal use of any indoor facilities, you know, during the summer months. So it's going to be a matter of making sure we have lifeguards. We can shift the responsibility. And, you know, we're flexible with that.
Mayor, I was surprised at our store. You found so many people from Del Mar using the pool.
Stop doing interviews in Del Mar.
Our taxpayer dime. Are there any other Albany facilities that allow, I mean, you know, you go to these other municipalities, you have to show ID, you have to, you know, present your firstborn, all this other stuff. Is there any tightening up that we can do around the city to prevent
You know,
this?
we're looking at that. We're looking at that, but you know what? I don't want to discourage people from coming to our city. You know, if they want to use another pool, if they want to do this, you know, we'll have to look at that. You know, I really don't want to draw a line and say, okay, if you're from Del Mar or Bethlehem, you can't come in and use a Lincoln Park once in a while. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right, especially in the area of cooperation and making things available. And we run programs all over the city that people aren't even aware of. That, you know, we do have kids probably participate in a lot of our programs that benefit them because the suburban communities don't replicate or they don't have the programs that we have in many instances. But we're not going to penalize kids for that. If it's there and we're paying a person, why not continue it?
When will the bathhouse close?
Pardon me?
When will it close?
End of the year. We close by the end of this year, end of the month.
And the lifeguards will be transferred to Arbor Hill?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. And we'll be looking at hours of placement for them as well. Because sometimes if it was light, my understanding is we might share them with the facility anyway. And my concern is the use of the school up at Arbor Hill and what demand that might shift as well. If someone goes in there and hopefully someone will go in that place and become a partner with us. It shouldn't be vacant.
You said there'll be a shuttle from South End there to take folks to see Arbor Hill?
Yeah, we'll be announcing a possibility for people to they want to get transported up, take a look at Arbor Hill, fine. And then we'll look at, are there ways for us to do that? Most people have been driving down here that are using it. A few that live down there walk over and use it. So it might have seemed like a difficult decision to some of you, but I just placed it in the context of everything we're dealing with as a city. Okay.
What happens now with the budget? What's that timeline?
It was passed, so we're good. Yeah, we're good to go. There's no money in there for the media, below the media. I know you guys are being treated so fairly, you know. But thank you, and I appreciate your input. Okay, thanks.